Orale! Bienvenidos and welcome to the Familia FFB podcast. This is your host, Jorge Martin and Familia. We're a week away from Thanksgiving. Giving thanks so much. I'm giving thanks for you, everybody who's watching. I know you're in the you're in the fantasy fight because you've been listening all season, paying attention, making sure that you get all the waivers right. Familia, I'm sorry that I didn't get waivers in this week. Life kind of took over, but we're here with a little Adentro Afuera. But first off, please make sure you're giving us a like and subscribe on YouTube, Familia, por favor. It really helps us, gets the algorithm going. We get more people who are coming on, the more people who are liking and subscribing us. And also want to make sure you give a shout out to our amigos over at Fantasy Points Media Group. I mean, we are a proud member of the Fantasy Points Media Group. Make sure you go to fantasypoints.com and put in the promo code 22familia10, 22familia10 if you're doing it in Spanish. Get some of the best fantasy minds out there. John Hansen, the fantasy guru himself, Joe Dolan, the fantasy gangster, Graham Barfield, Scott Barrett, Tom Brawley, Wes Huber. I mean, some great minds. A lot of them have been able to come on the show. Hopefully they're going to come on at some point in the future. Things are a little busy right now. That's why I couldn't get a co-host tonight. But you know what? Life is good. I'm with you all here. So, and I want to give a shout out to in the audience, Alberto. Muchas gracias for joining. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. And you know what? It's kind of this is kind of a special episode a little bit because, well, you know what, it is it's a very important week for my familia because a lot of people are celebrating birthdays. So here we are on November 16th. And we get, today is the birthday of my best friend, best man at my wedding, Jojo Narduli, my prima Fabiola Torres. It's her birthday. Yesterday was my baby sister Dora. Welcome back to California. It was her birthday. Feliz cumpleaños. We're going to celebrate soon. And my tia Chaya, my tia Ramona, named after my abuelita, tia Ramona, sister of my mother. Happy birthday. Tomorrow is a very special day also for Familia FFB because it's my birthday. Yeah, I'm, the 17th, and he was just 17. I'm a little bit more than that. I'll be, you guys will see about how much, but I am going to be celebrating in a very, very, very special way because I am going to see the legendary Elton John at Dodger Stadium, my old stomping grounds. Special thanks to Dan Gilmore for helping me get tickets, amigo of the show, and also league mate at in our True Blue Dodger League. So you know what? If tomorrow you see any kind of videos with the Rocket Man. Yes, had to do that just one more time. So yes, it's a very special one. On Friday, I also have two of my primas, my prima Nanny, who is exactly 25 hours younger than me. It's her birthday that day. And also my prima Jessica, who is more than 25 years younger than me. Happy birthday to all of you. Happy birthday to everyone. Saludos. Enjoy. I mean, love November birthdays because it's 9 months after Valentine's Day. So don't do the math too much. But yes, thank you so much, everybody. Saying hello to Dame Overboard. And yes, muchas gracias. Muchas gracias. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Mr. Scampers, muchas gracias. The coolest cat. Muchas gracias. Thank you. It's a fire birthday. Yeah, Dame Overboard, since I know you're a Dodger fan, it's my Oral Hershiser birthday. So if you can figure out what Oral Hershiser has to do with my birthday, maybe number, right there. So, familia, let's get into some Adentro Afuera because you know what? You guys all have plenty. You guys are all going for the fantasy playoffs right now. It is week 11. You are right there in the fantasy fight right now. So we're ready to get into it. Some of you may have trade questions. So if you guys have any trade questions, in fact, I'm in a trade negotiation right now that I have to suspend so I could actually do this show. But yeah. Also want to send a shout out to a new friend, Bridget from Red Bull. Met her yesterday, and she's friend of a friend of the show, muy buen amigo of the show, Tony Kinkella. But Bridget, big time Packers fan. I gave her a little fantasy advice yesterday, and she already hit me back up for some more advice. Bridget, bienvenido to la familia, Familia FFB. Always welcome. You know what? Also hit me up for taco tips. I tell you, I know you're on your way on a very special trip. So go and enjoy plenty of tacos, familia. So, but yeah, it's week 11. Throw your trade questions in here in the chat. I've been answering tons of trade questions over at Fantasy Points Discord when I've been working on that one. When I haven't been working on shows for here, but also make sure, and this is also the time to be looking at weather. We're going to have weather on one of the games. Sorry about that. I think we got a little disconnected there for a second. Yeah, make sure you're checking out weather. Let me see. Oh no, it's not quite as scoreless streak. Not quite as scoreless streak. So, but we'll keep working on that one, Dame. See if you figure it out by the end of the show. Yes, we're gonna be. So we're looking at fantasy playoffs right now. It is 5 more games until a lot. 4 more games. 1, 11, 12, 13, 14. 4 more games for most leagues that are starting their fantasy playoffs in week 15. So you're really looking at schedules right now. You're looking at matchups really hard. I mean, you should have been doing it all year round, but this is really the nitty-gritty time. Things are really popping. There are some matchups that we really, really need to attack this week. So we're going into Thursday Night Football. We're going to start out there. We're talking about the Packers 4-6 hosting the Tennessee Titans 6-3. Green Bay is a 3-point favorite, 41-point over under. And we're going to start with the Titans. And it's too easy to talk about Derrick Henry. The Green Bay Packers are, they're not good. They're not very good against the run. They've been getting beaten up. So you're starting Derrick Henry. Easy call. I'm looking at Treylon Burks right now. He ran 29 routes this week, which was second most for the Titans, 37 for Robert Woods. Finished with 24 receiving yards on 3 catches. The one thing that's kind of tough, Green Bay is number 8 against wide receivers since week 6. All of these defensive numbers are going to be since week 6, so that everyone will have played at least 4 games during that stretch. So it's kind of like a good number. CeeDee Lamb did go for 11 catches on 15 targets for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns last week, but Burks is not quite yet in that one. So I'm putting him afuera on this one. He's catching a lot of short intermediate routes. 4 of his 5 targets last week were between the numbers, short distances. So definitely not someone that we're really looking at. That let me see. All I can see is Dame equals cat typing gif. Yep, absolutely. Yes, Mr. Scampers. Okay, so we're going over the Packers side of the house. Christian Watson had the breakout game, his breakout game that people have been wanting, fantasizing about. It's probably one of the best games that a lot of wide receivers have had this year. 32.7 points, caught 4 balls, 107 yards, 3 touchdowns, almost got a 4th. It's one of the great rookie games since Chase Claypool had the 4 touchdown game 2 years ago. It's that breakout that we wanted, but here's the thing that's happening. The Packers just don't have a lot of volume right now. He ran 21 routes last week. They didn't have a high pass volume because Rodgers only passed the ball 22 times, but he had 8 of those catches, 8 of those targets. They were all out of the slot. So something to keep in mind. A couple of them were long ones. Tennessee is also number 24 against the wide receiver since week 6, averaging 166.5 yards per game. So last week, Cortland Sutton had 66 receiving yards against him. He's kind of like that big target, sort of, similar to Christian Watson. Watson is definitely faster. What does he do for an encore? I think against this Tennessee defense, he's getting in the end zone one time. I don't know if he hits 100 yards because there may not be a lot of volume. Both teams are really going a lot of volume. If I'm betting this game, I'm betting the under on this one. So it's 41 points. I'm going the under. The Packers are going to win, but I think Watson's going to get in the end zone. He's going to get a touchdown. So now we're going to Sunday games. We got Atlanta is host at 4-6 is hosting the Bears 3-7. Atlanta's 3-point favorites. This is a 50-point over-under, which is interesting because both teams do a lot of their damage on the ground. The Falcons really limit possessions a lot because they just don't pass very much. Their pass volume is next to nothing. Drake London did get in the end zone, but all of those folks who are Kyle Pitts fans, I know it's not fun. It's not fun right now. I'm still, it's still hurting me right now. I may be trying to trade Kyle Pitts in one of my leagues, but starting with the Bears, we've got David Montgomery. And we got a great matchup for him because, these Falcons are giving up 99.2 rushing yards per game. It's Deontay Foreman just in weeks 8 and 10, he got 118 and 130 rushing yards. Well, I hope that was only on my side. Sorry about that. There was a little bit of a noise that went in there. He had 118 and 130 rushing yards. So, the Falcons are giving up 99.2 rushing yards per game. David Montgomery is going to have this backfield. I know Treston Ebner is going to be it could be someone who snakes some rushing attempts from him, but this is going to be Montgomery's backfield. I think he's an Adentro play this week. He only had 37 rushing yards, but you know what? Here's the thing. He had a snap count of 40 to 61 snaps. He's going to be the one. Maybe he doesn't get 80-90% rush attempts, snap count, but you know what, I think he's going to be on the field a lot. I think he's going to catch some passes. I think he's an Adentro to play this week because of the fact that the Falcons are just not very good. You're playing Justin Fields. I can't have a podcast talk about the Bears without talking about Justin Fields and his greatness. You're playing him. I even had the question a week ago to play him rest of season over Tua, and I said it's tough to get away from that rushing floor. Plus, Tua has some tough road games to New England and to Buffalo, where weather's going to be a problem. And those guys from Miami going up north, it could be tough. But this week, David Montgomery, he's very much Adentro. I want to see him in there. So. On Drake London on the other side, you got he is potentially a tough play because he did get in the end zone, not very high volume for him that last week, but the Bears, where they are a little bit tougher, is against the pass. So it could be they could slow him down. Marcus Mariota hasn't been that great. I'm putting Drake London Afuera this week. He got his touchdown. Maybe he doesn't get one this week. Hopefully, please get Kyle Pitts some help on this one. Please, please, please. Getting some help is going to be the grounds crew in Buffalo, where Cleveland is. Excuse me. I'm gonna do something here. I keep getting something going. Some feedback on my side. I really hope it's not impacting you all out there. Let me see. Okay, hopefully that slows things down. You got Cleveland 3-6 at Buffalo 6-3. You got Buffalo an 8-point favorites, 41.5-point over under. That 41.5-point over under has to be because of the fact that it's just really they're expecting potentially 6 feet of snow. It's going to be 24 degrees game time. Snow is in the forecast for game time. Thank you to NFLweather.com. So I'm looking at that one, and that means they're, pull up the tractor trailer, and that's on the Brown side. That's Nick Chubb. It's going to be a ground game because of him. He has gone 6 of 9 games over 100 plus yards. He, in the last game, he had 9 snaps over on running plays over Kareem Hunt. It's probably about a 65-40, 65-35 snap count. But But look at the fact of what's been happening against Buffalo of late. You've got Aaron Jones, who went for 157 combined yards. You've got the Jets, who 156 between three running backs. Dalvin Cook went for 146 yards. This is the last 3 weeks against the Bills. They are number 24 against rushing. They've given up 156 scrimmage yards per game. This is a smash spot. The way that the Browns are going to try and slow down the Bills is by slowing down the game and limiting possessions. That's Nick Chubb all day. He's going to be a great play on the DFS side. Also on the Bills side, Devin Singletary, another great play. Again, he scored the 2 touchdowns last week. These are his touches the last 4 weeks. 21, 15, 12, 14. This is the total attempts in each of the last 4 weeks. Week 4, he was the RB4, so it was his only top 10 finish. Is he headed for one this week? I think so. The Browns are number 30 against the running back this year, 151 scrimmage yards per game over the last 4 games. I mean, it's the Bills can't stop the run. The Browns can't stop the run. This is going to be 1977 all over again, you guys. It's just going to be run. I know Josh Allen will make some plays. There's a little bit of wind that's going to be coming into play. It's going to be in the teens, but as long as the snow is not wet snow, there could be some passing but for the most part, it's going to be Devin Singletary in this game. So, get him in your lineup. Cheap play in DFS. Let's go to the Philadelphia 8-1 at Indianapolis 4-5-1. The Eagles are 6.5 point favorites, 43.5 point over under. Familia, this is one of 2 games that meets my criteria when you're betting on the home underdog. This is one of them. So that system where you're betting a team that is at least 4 wins less than the road team. So the home team, 4 wins less than the road team, at least, is already 1-0 this season. This is a system that hit over 65% last year. We got it twice this year. This is game 1. So we got the Eagles. A.J. Brown's coming off of a rough game. 1 catch, 7 yards against the Washington Commanders after having a game where they had five catches, 85 yards, and a touchdown. He has 32 total targets in the last 4 games, so it's not like he's not getting any targets. But it was they really blanketed the coverage on him. It was just a rough, weird Monday Night Football game. You got Dallas Goedert going on IR in that one because of an injury. So is that going to increase targets for AJ Brown and Devontae Smith? Possibly, but let's keep something in mind. Indianapolis is number 2 against with giving up 23 fantasy points per game to the wide receiver position, only giving up 108 pass yards. To the wide receivers. You got Isaiah Rodgers. He's the number 4 cornerback with an 85.6 PFF grade. You got Stephon Gilmore, who's the 11 cornerback with a 77 PFF grades. These guys, remember, they shut down Kansas City in Indianapolis. This game's in Indianapolis. I think this is gonna be a rough game. I think I don't see AJ Brown hitting his projections this week. I'm afuera on him. On the other side, you got the Colts. Jonathan Taylor, muchas gracias for returning to the land of the living running backs. Muchas gracias for that. Just a beautiful game. 60 snaps out of 64 total snaps, a 94% snap share, 22 rush attempts, 147 rushing yards, a touchdown. There's no Hines, no problem. The Eagles are number 21 against the running backs, 143.7 scrimmage yards allowed. Last week they gave up 130 combined yards to Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson. Damian Pierce had 139 receiving yards before that. Jonathan Taylor is very close to being. I haven't finished I haven't finished everything as far as my rankings for this week. He's going to be pretty close to number 1 for RB1 for this week's Familia. So I don't have to tell you to get him in your lineup. He could be he's definitely someone to consider for DFS. I don't know what it is with the Eagles and the Bills all of a sudden giving up plenty of yards on the ground. All right. So now we're going to New England. Let's see. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Dame. I don't know. Thank you. I'm glad the issues are only on my side when it comes to the sound. Muchas gracias. You haven't figured out the number yet. So what Oral Hershiser and my birthday have in common. All right. So we get the Jets 6-3 and New England 5-4. New England is a 3-point favorite. 38.5 point over under, one of the lowest over unders of the week. This game, weather's not expected to be a problem in this one. We've got in New England, it's going to be 42 degrees, partly cloudy, a little bit of wind, but nothing, no precipitation of any kind expected. You got I'm looking at the Jets. I'm looking at Michael Carter on this one because both the Patriots and the Jets are very good against the pass. So I'm looking at the running backs in this one. Carter, he's in the last two games, he's got 31-24 snaps, whereas James Robinson has 12 and 9 snaps. 31-24 snaps, 12-9 routes run. So he's got the decided advantage in both snaps and route run over James Robinson. Last week, he had 86 scrimmage yards to Robinson's 53. I think this is going to be a tough game for him. The Patriots are number 3 against the running back position, allowing only 71 rushing yards per game. Carter had just 61 scrimmage yards versus the Pats in week 8. On this season, Aaron Jones is the only running back who has gone over 73 rushing yards. The A.J. Dillon is the one who got 73 rushing yards in that game. I think this is going to be a rough one. I'm afuera on Michael Carter. Much as you guys may have to start him, especially those of you who lost Breece Hall, I think it's a tough one. I think there's going to be a timeshare. I think he's not going to. I don't think he's going to hit very big numbers on this week against that Patriots defense. On the other side of the house, you got the Patriots. I'm looking at Ramondre Stevenson. I'm looking purely adentro on this one. These are his touches since week 5: 27, 23, 19, 23, and 18. His total yards in that one. So his total scrimmage yards, you got 175, 91, 98, 40, 143, and 70. He's got 4 touchdowns over those 5 games. Last game, he had 46. He was on the field for 46 snaps out of 63. So it's 73% snap share. This is the lead caballo on this one. The Jets are the number 10 defense against the running back, giving up about 117 scrimmage yards to the position. But let's look at week 8 when the Jets hosted the Patriots. Stevenson had 143 total yards in that game on 23 touchdowns. Damian Harris could be back for this game, but this is his backfield. I'm adentro on him. Adentro. Give it to me. So all day long. I've gotten trade offers on him. You know what I'm saying? In Spanish and in English, it's the same answer. No. All right, let's go to the Rams, 3-6 at New Orleans, 3-7. New Orleans 4-point favorites, 39-point over under. Again, another one of the lower over under that's under 40 points. It's just ugly. I mean, Matthew Stafford, lo siento mucho. I really hope you're enjoying that Super Bowl ring because it might be a tough time getting back into the playoffs. It's not going to. I don't think the playoffs are happening this year. Cooper Kupp, he's gone on IR, had surgery. Dr. Erwin Porras has put out there that this could be like 4 to 6 weeks. And when if you're talking about 6 weeks, that's week 16. Are you really looking to bring him back at that point? I know the Rams don't have a first-round draft pick next year, so it behooves them to have that pick get as high as possible. But maybe they want that second-round pick to be as high as possible. Maybe they wouldn't mind that. I know they're not playing. I know Les Snead, Sean McVay are always playing to win, but it's gonna be really tough. Matthew Stafford, I mean, who's gonna be the main target? Allen Robinson? Is it gonna be Tyler Higbee? Is it gonna be Van Jefferson? It's gonna be tough. I think it could be something like where Higbee may have to stay in and block because the Rams lost 2 more offensive linemen who were starters last week. I think they're going to try and get Allen Robinson going in the next couple weeks. Maybe do some short and intermediate passing. I don't know if they'll have enough time to take some shots with Van Jefferson. It's tough. And then the Saints, when it comes to Higbee, the Saints are number 4 in allowing 6.8 fantasy points per game to the tight ends. 32.2 receiving yards to the tight end position. It's tough. Matthew Stafford, it's going to be tough. I'm Afuera on him. It hurts. It hurts. Even with so many injuries on the back and the secondary, I think he's not going to have enough time to get any passes going. So unless they really go to a short passing game with him, again, oh, by the way, he has been cleared, he is back at practice. He is not officially cleared concussion protocol as of here on Wednesday. Keep checking those practice reports. I really hope for the Rams' sake that he's that he's able to start, but please protect this man. Please protect this man. We want him to be us Ram fans. We want him to be quarterback for more years beyond this. Let's go over to the Saints. Los Santos, Alvin Kamara. Last 2 weeks, his touches are 12 and 11. But the previous 4 games, he was at 29, 25, 18, 27, gets a lot of work in the passing game. During that 4-game stretch, he was no lower than the running back 13. So you've got a Ram defense that in back-to-back games against Run CMC, Christian McCaffrey, gave up 147 and 149 scrimmage yards. That was in weeks 6 and 8 against the Rams. The Rams are number 29 and allowing 139.3 scrimmage yards to the running back position. I think this is going to be a big game for Alvin Kamara. They're going to use him. The Saints are still going with Andy Dalton. You still got Jalen Ramsey back there. You still got Aaron Donald creating havoc for the quarterbacks. It's not going to be a fun day for Andy Dalton. I think that he could get Chris Olave loose for a couple of long ones, but I think this is going to be an Alvin Kamara game. Get him in your lineup. Good play in DFS. Okay, let's go to Detroit 3-6 and New York Giants 7-2. The Giants are 3-point favorites, 45-point over under. It's gonna be about 37 degrees in this game. 16-mile-an-hour winds. Familia, I'm looking at Amon-Ra St. Brown when it comes to the Saints. I know Amiga of the show, Dame Overboard, loves herself some ARSB. He's back, Familia. He's back. He's got 30 targets in the last 3 games, so an average of 10 per game. Last week, he got 11 targets, caught 10 of them, 119 yards, didn't get a touchdown. He has not had a touchdown since week 2. When he had 3 in the first 2 weeks. So touchdown regression is coming as you keep hearing it. I'm Adentro on him this week. The Giants, they're kind of in the middle. They're number 17 against the wide receiver position, 147.8 yards per game against the wide receiver. Tyler Lockett, that kind of slot wide receiver similar to ARSB, 5 catches on 8 targets, 63 yards, 1 touchdown. Christian Kirk, who kind of goes between the slot and the outside, 7 catches, 96 yards, did not get a touchdown in week 7. This is an Adentro for, I think St. Brown, as long as he's healthy, he did have a little bit of a scare, came back into the game, they thought that he might have turned his ankle again. Looks like he was able to finish. I haven't seen anything about him missing any practice today, so be ready to get him in your lineup. Over on the Giants side now, I just made a trade in my Familia League for Daniel Jones. I needed an injury replacement, a bye week replacement for Tom Brady. I went Daniel Jones. I didn't like what was going on the waiver wire. I traded Amari Cooper to my primo, and I think it was a great deal for him. He's got Deshaun Watson, so he's very well set between Deshaun Watson and Joe Burrow on the quarterback side. I needed Daniel Jones. I love him this week. I think he's an Adentro play. Dual threat quarterbacks have done well against the Lions, who are number 32 against the position, giving up 24.6 fantasy points per game. The 261 pass yards over since week 6, 51.6 rush yards over that. They did get trampled by Justin Fields during that one. That was 147 yards last week. Daniel Jones, maybe he doesn't have that gear with him, but he does. He in week 4, in week 7, he was the QB4, getting 107 rush yards during that game. He's only surpassed 200 passing yards once this season, so we're not going to get high pass volume on this one. So maybe we don't see a lot of Wan'Dale Robinson. Maybe we don't see a lot of Darius Slayton having a big game. Slayton did have 4 targets last week. He had 12 targets in the previous 2 games combined. But rushing quarterbacks are doing damage. Outside of Fields, Aaron Rodgers got 40 yards against them. Geno Smith got 49 yards against them. The passing games against the Lions, Smith had 320 yards. Tua had 382 yards, and then last week Aaron Rodgers had 291 yards. So the quarterbacks are getting putting up points. It's a home game. I'm Adentro on Daniel Jones. All right, let's go to Baltimore. Ravens 6-3 hosting the Carolina Panthers 3-7. Baltimore is 12-point favorites, 42-point over under. The Panthers, I'm looking at Baker Mayfield. The Deonta Foreman could have a tough game in this one. I've been talking about him a lot. I don't think we're talking about DJ Moore either. So it's going to be a tough game for Deonta Foreman because the Ravens are very good against the run. They have been better against the pass of late. And Mayfield, I think this is going to be a tough game. I'm Afuera on him, even in Superflex leagues. I tried to get him in Scott Fishbowl for some depth to maybe see if he get a run in him. But no, he has no game over 235 yards this season. DJ Moore has a high of 59 yards back, in weeks 1 to 5 when Mayfield was in. Baltimore has remember that huge game that Tua had against them early in the season. That's really slowed down. Baltimore's number 5 against the quarterback since week 6, giving up just 241.5 yards per game. They held down Josh Allen to 213 yards. They held Joe Burrow to 217 yards. Tom Brady did get them for 325 yards in week 8, but Baker Mayfield is not in Tom Brady's league. I'm afuera on him. On the other side, we got let's look at Kenyon Drake. I mean, you're already starting Gus Edwards. He's got the possibility of falling into the end zone, but you got Drake. He's a good play this week. He's got 34 touches in the 27-13 win over the Saints before they went on their vacacion, their little bye week. And you're looking at the Panthers. They're number 26 against the running back, allowing 136 yards per game, scrimmage yards per game to the running back. A lot of that, Joe Mixon got that with 211 scrimmage yards, 5 total touchdowns in week 9. Familia, that's still very fresh in people's memories. All those people who did very well in DFS that week because they had Joe Mixon. You're welcome. You got 9, in the rain. When Carolina was playing, the Atlanta Falcons got 95 combined rush yards from their running backs. Kenyon Drake, you got to get him in your lineup. Yeah, I'm Adentro on this week. All right, let's go to Houston, where the Washington Commanders 5-5, coming off of that crazy, very local Monday Night Football win in Philadelphia. So they are at Houston, 1-7-1. Washington is 3-point favorite, 40.5 over under. This is another one. Houston is 4 wins below. So take the home underdog on this one. It's only a 3-point over 3 points, but you know what? I'm looking at parlaying those two teams together. On the Washington side, I'm looking at Brian Robinson. He led Antonio Gibson in snaps, 43-40 out of 83 total snaps last week, where they just went run heavy. So he didn't run any routes, but he got 26 rush attempts, 86 yards. Gibson only had 44 rushing yards on 14 rush attempts. The Texans are number 32. How many times do we have to tell you, Familia? They are number 32 against the rush, against running backs, giving up 184.8 rushing yards. Saquon, 152 yards. Miles Sanders, 93 yards. Derrick Henry, 219 yards. That's the last 3 weeks against these Houston Texans. You know what? Brian Robinson is a flex play for you this week. Get him in your lineup. I'm doing that. I'm doing that on one of my 14 team leagues. On the Houston side, Nico Collins got 10 he saw 10 targets last week. 5 catches, 49 yards, caught a touchdown, ran 33 routes, led the team in routes. Brandon Cooks only had 7 targets in that game. You're looking at Washington. They're allowing just 77.2 rushing yards per game. So the Texans may have to pass. The Washington Commanders, they've really improved on the defensive side. They were getting beat in the pass earlier. Over the last 4 games, they are number 10 against the wide receiver, giving up 204.4 passing yards per game. A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith combined for only 46 receiving yards last week. Justin Jefferson did get them for 115 yards, going over 100 yards. I don't think Nico Collins gets to that point. I think he does lead them in receiving this week. Brandon Cooks missed practice today with wrist and ankle injuries, so we're gonna get that's something to keep in mind. Nico Collins is going to be the main target. He could be a cheap play in DFS this week. I do think that they could cover. It's going to be a tough cover, only 3 points, but short week for the Commanders. It's going to be a tough game. Remember Chase Young could be back in this game, so that's going to make the Washington pass rush even tougher. Oh, I'm just also saying hello. Oh, yes, Dame Overboard, and also amigo Craig Reith. Hola. Thank you for joining. Muchas gracias. I'm not going to complain about the cold because I know how cold it is out there right there. So yes, it is getting chilly out in California, as our friends, our other friends in the chat will attest. So let's get into the late games right now. We got the Raiders 2-7 hosting the Denver Broncos. At the Denver Broncos 3-6. Denver is 2.5 point favorites. 41.5 point over under. These did you see the stat that if the Broncos would just score 18 points every week, they would be 8-1 at this point? It's just bien loco. Ay, Dios mío, it's a crazy one. It's expected to be about 48 degrees game time. No precipitation, anything. I'm looking on the Raiders side. They're going to have to attack from the ground because Josh Jacobs in his last 2 games, 20 and 27 touches, 87 and 106 total yards during that point. He has 1 touchdown. He is still the lead caballo. The Broncos last week, they sold out to stop Derrick Henry, limiting him to 19 rushing attempts, 53 yards. Before that, Travis Etienne had 156 yards, 1 touchdown on 24 rush attempts. But here's the difference between the Titans and the Raiders. The Raiders, you have to play it honest because Devontae Adams is on the outside. The Titans did not have Devontae Adams out there, so they're going to have to. They can't just sell out to stop the run. So I think Josh Jacobs is going to have some room to run. The Broncos are number 19 against the running back, 98 rushing yards per game. I think Josh Jacobs is gonna get close to that number. I think he's going over 100 yards in this game, and he's gonna help you on your redraft leagues, and also gonna be a cheap DFS play. On the Denver side, looking at you, Cortland Sutton. Is he going to take over all the the full-on lead wide receiver duties with Jerry Jeudy likely to miss this game, likely to miss multiple weeks with an ankle injury? He got 11 targets last week, 6 catches for 66 yards. That was his first game with 10-plus targets since week 5. He was the wide receiver. He has been their wide receiver. The wide receiver 1 the last 2 weeks against the Raiders. You got Michael Pittman, 7 catches, 53 yards, no touchdowns. You had Christian Kirk the week before, 8 catches, 76 yards, and 1 touchdown. The Raiders are number 18 since week 6 against the wide receivers, 139.2 receiving yards. I think this is going to be one of the ways that they attack. I think they got to concentrate the targets to Cortland Sutton. It might not be pretty because it has not been pretty with those Denver Broncos, but I think that Cortland Sutton could get you there. I'm Adentro on him. Let's go over to Minnesota, where Dallas 6-3 is at Minnesota 8-1 after that practically miraculous win. If you, Familia, I know you've seen the Justin Jefferson catch. It's the greatest catch this year. I don't know. Maybe it's on a par with the one that OBJ had in his rookie season 2014. But Familia, it's still not David Tyree. It is still not David Tyree catching a ball in the Super Bowl, putting it against his head. That to me is still the greatest catch of all time. So all others are, you're behind on that one. So you got Minnesota. But this one in this game, Dallas is 1.5-point favorites. Road favorites. I love to go against those with a 47.5-point over under. I think this game's going to be a shootout, Familia. You got CeeDee Lamb on one side coming off of that 150 yard 2-touchdown performance last week. It was his first of 10 of double digit targets since week 6. You got the Vikings. They are number 32, giving up 244.5 receiving yards per game to the wide receiver position since week 6. You got Hill and Waddle. They went for 306 yards combined between the two of them in week 6. You got DeAndre Hopkins, Rondale Moore, 251 yards combined in week 8. Diggs and Davis, 221 receiving yards again in week 10. These Vikings can be beaten in the air. This game's gonna run. This game is gonna run. They're just beating up the DBs. This game's indoors. This game's gonna shoot. I'm taking the over on this one. And then on the other side, Vikings. It's a caliente game alert for Dalvin Cook. He's got TDs in 5 straight games. He's over 100 scrimmage yards in 3 of those games. He had that beautiful 81-yard run last week. He was number 14. The Cowboys are number 14 with 154.6 scrimmage yards per game, though they've only allowed three touchdowns since week 6. But these are some of the big games that have been happening against them. Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon last week combined for 203 scrimmage yards. The week before, David Montgomery, Khalil Herbert, 152 combined yards. So this is against Dallas in these last 2 games. Familia, Dalvin Cook's in your lineup. He's going to be he's going to be a very popular play on DFS this week. This is going to be a great game. This is going to be a great game. Let's go to Pittsburgh now. Steel Town, Cincinnati 5-4, coming off their bye at Pittsburgh 3-6. You got Cincinnati 4-point favorites, 41 point over under. It's going to be 29 degrees at game time. So another one, road favorites. There you don't have the four win edge, so you don't. I'm not betting this one, though. I could be convinced to take Pittsburgh and get the points. On the Bengals side, Tyler Boyd, I'm looking at him. I want to be Adentro on him. It's the slot wide receivers against the Steelers. He's up there in targets with Jamar Chase out in the last 2 games. He's got 11 targets. T. Higgins has 14. In week 1 against the Steelers, he caught 4 balls for 33 receiving yards, 1 touchdown. What's going to make it tough on this one? TJ Watt is expected to play. Does that mean bad stuff for Joe Burrow behind that shaky Cincinnati offensive line? You had Chris Olave with 3 catches for 40 yards last week. AJ Brown had a big game. Pittsburgh is number 25 against the wide receiver, giving up 171.5 receiving yards per game. Much of the damage was done by AJ Brown and Hill and Waddle. Tyler Boyd is not in that one, but I think he could have himself a game. I think he's going to get a touchdown in this game, maybe somewhere like 60 to 75 yards. I'm adentro on him. Let's go over to the other side. Najee Harris battling a little bit of a knee injury, or maybe he's got some knee soreness that slowed him down. That maybe is gonna keep him out of practice. It definitely is gonna slow him down in practice this week. After going 99 yards on 20 carries in one of his best games of the season, he didn't have any receptions, had only one target. With coming off the bye week, is he over that foot issue that he had during training camp? You got the Cincinnati Bengals. They're number 23 against the running back, 137.4 scrimmage yards. You had Nick Chubb having that big game on Halloween night, 23 rushing attempts, 101 yards, 2 touchdowns. Alvin Kamara turned 25 touches into 124 scrimmage yards against the Steeler defense. I know they got TJ Watt, but he's more of a pass rusher than run defender. I'm sorry. This is against Cincinnati. Wrong side. T. Watts on the Steelers side. The Bengals are just giving up some rushing yards. And especially Najee. I don't know if he's going to get the dual threat, but I could see. I don't know if he gets 99 yards this week, but I could see him getting a full workload. All right, let's go to Sunday Night Football. It's going to be in my backyard. Kansas City Chiefs 7-2 at LA Chargers 5-4. The Chiefs are 6.5-point favorites. Road favorites. Bet the Chargers on this one. Come on, 50 points. I'm looking at the Chiefs. I'm staring at Isaiah Pacheco. I got so many questions on what to do with picking him up, on whether to get him. You get him. Yeah, get him. And I told people put him in your lineup this week. He was on 18 rush snaps last week. 16 of those carries into 82 yards. Hold on one second. Thank you for that. McKinnon was number 2 with only 3 rush snaps. CEH was not on the field for any rushing attempts this week. I think this is a changing of the guard on the running backs. He's a guy who runs violently. And then you look at the Chargers giving up 145.5 rushing yards. Number 31. Now, Derwin James is going to be paying a lot of attention to Travis Kelce, so it's going to that's how they do the defense. So I'm looking at Pacheco facing a defense that was down to just 3 defensive linemen, signing free agents off the street to play this week. Last week you had Run CMC and Elijah Mitchell, 127 combined yards, just rushing yards between the two of them. 177 rushing yards by the trio of running backs from Atlanta in week 9. You had Ken Walker, 167.2 in week 8. This is a defense that you need to run against, Familia. Get Isaiah Pacheco in your lineup. Over on the Chargers side, please, Mike Williams, get in the lineup. Limited in practice. Dr. Porras thinks he could play because he and I just made a trade in one of our leagues, and one of the leagues that we play against each other. So let's see if I get a chance. You got Mike Williams. They need him in the lineup. You've had Justin Herbert with an ADOT of just 6.6 last week, and in the last game where Mike Williams played in week 7, he was at an ADOT of 10.7 on passes just to him. That was his last healthy game. You got the Chiefs are at 167 receiving yards per game to the wide receiver. They're number 28 against the position. You had Brandon Ayuk getting 82 receiving yards on 7 receptions in week 7. The Chargers need to get Williams into healthy, in the flow, take some shots with him, get him in your lineup. All right, Monday Night Football in Mexico. Arriba Mexico, viva Mexico, viva Mexico. Mauricio Gutierrez, I know you and Gemma Martinez are going to be at the game. Saludos y abrazos on this one. You got the 49ers 5-4 at Arizona. Arizona is technically the home team. They're 4-6. You got San Francisco 8-point favorites, 43.5-point over-unders. This is going to be amazing. I don't know if they're going to sing Take Me Home Country Road like they did in Germany, but they're going to sing some crazy songs. There's going to be some chants. It's going to be an amazing football environment. 61 degrees, perfect weather for football. And I'm looking at you for arriba, 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 not just adentro, arriba to George Kittle on this one. Last 4 games, these are his targets: 10, 9, 5, and 2. In week 7 against the Kansas City Chiefs, a game that was, that was very busy for him, he caught 6 catches, 98 yards, and a touchdown when they were playing from behind. You got Arizona since week 6. They are number 32 in fantasy points per game and red zone fantasy points per game allowed to the tight end position, giving up 68.4 receiving yards to the position. Last week, Tyler Higbee, who had been basically dormant for several weeks, caught all 8 of his targets for 73 yards. Noah Fant caught 5 balls for 96 yards. Juwan Johnson in week 7, 5 catches, 32 yards, 2 touchdowns. This is a defense where you get your tight ends in there. So George Kittle, adentro, arriba, felicidades if you got him. Cardinals, let's go to James Conner. This is going to be a tough one, Familia. He, everything's looking like a 96, like things are looking up for him. He had a 96% snap share, on the field for 65 of 68 snaps. He ran 21 times for 69 yards, 2 touchdowns, caught 3 passes for 17 yards. Everything is pointing toward him. The Cardinals just released Eno Benjamin. I think it means Keontae Ingram is a guy that is someone who's in play. You got to if you haven't picked him up, get him in there, because he's going to be a valuable, very, very valuable handcuff for the remaining of the season, because James Conner, he has an injury history. I'm never going to say injury prone, Edwin. Never going to say injury prone, but he does have an injury history. Already missed multiple games this year. You got Kyler Murray nursing a hamstring. You got Colt McCoy nursing a knee injury. Cliff Kingsbury said one of them is expected to play. So I would bet that they're going to sit Murray one more week, get McCoy in there, and they look like a reasonably good offense on this one. But this is going to be a tough. I'm afuera on James Conner this week. The 49ers have allowed a high of 59 rushing yards this season. Number 2 against the running back, giving up 70.2 rushing yards per game. I mean, last week they shut down Austin Eckler to just 24 yards. The Rams totaled 47 rushing yards between their running backs the previous week. The Chiefs were at 87 combined rush yards in the game where they beat up on they took it to the 49ers. This is not going to happen this week. Afuera on James Conner. So, oh my goodness, familia. Thank you so much for joining us on this one. You know what? I'll be toasting you all, saying big salud. Please feel free. Make sure you're wishing me a happy birthday tomorrow. I'll be on Twitter and I'll be putting out an article on this one. And I'm going to hopefully get something out there for DFS for the weekend. Saludos, abrazos. UCLA USC game this week. I'm going to be at a party. I'll be rooting for the Bruins. We are a Bruin family, so my wife is a Bruin, and my daughter was born at the medical center. So let's go Bruins. I'm expecting a great game because both teams can score some points. Enjoy that game. Celebration of Los Angeles. I'm celebrating you, familia, and also remember, you're going to Fantasy Points. Go to fantasypoints.com. Make sure you use that promo code 22familia10, 22familia10 if you do it in Spanish. I'll get you 10% off the already reduced price of 25% off. So let's get that. Also, make sure you're following me at Jorge Martin 17 on Twitter. I'll keep pushing all our content out that way. And Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Anybody out there watching on Facebook, please, muchas gracias. Give us a like, muchas gracias. And also on YouTube, give us a like and subscribe. Special thanks to Anchor for being our hosting network, getting our independent podcast out into the Familia community. Muchas gracias to you. Go get out there to Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. You could subscribe to there. So, otra vez, thank you everybody for joining us, and remember, todos somos familia. Salud.